Hi, welcome to my third process video using the Close to My Heart Dreamin Big paper range. So I've used the Workshops Your Way kit, which I've shown in one of my earlier recordings, and what I'm doing here is trimming down some of the photos that my husband has taken when he went out on a fishing trip with my son and some friends from church. And these photos aren't the most spectacular photos. They needed a little bit more lighting. However, when I tried to lighten them up, it sort of ruined some of the imagery in them because of the format that they were taken in. So don't be afraid to use your photos that aren't the highest quality, because it's about capturing that moment in time and telling that story about those events or that activity. So here I'm just got the photos on the page, and I'm just by eye trimming down what's going to go behind the photographs using my trimmer. So it's not about careful, precise measurements, but you'll see I am doing a little bit of paper saving here, just trimming down as far as I think I need to go, and then starting again at the other side with that, so that I'm going to be leaving more of the paper behind that I'm not using. Nope, trimmed it right off. So position, I often do, as I said earlier in an earlier video, I often do one photograph because it's all that I need to tell the story. For this story I needed the 3 photographs. It's got the driver, it's got my son and a friend, and it's got another passenger that's in there. It doesn't, however, have my husband, who's the photographer or taking the photos in this event, but he's there, I guess, in the sense that we know someone's holding the camera. So I've used one of the pocket page pieces with the green and white in there, and then I'm adding another of the pocket page pieces with the dragonfly on it. Although this isn't a layout about fly fishing, which would make more sense with the bugs and things, when you're out on the lake and out fishing, there's always little bugs around, no matter sort of what you do or where you go, and Lake Wakatipu's no exception. And so having a look at the different complements that will work with this page, trimming around these so that I can see how they will look on my page. You'll notice that the dragonfly pocket page card I have laid there at the moment overlapping a little bit over the side of the layout. This is just a way or something that I do to connect what I've put in the box or in the centre frame piece with what's going on outside it, so they don't look too separate or isolated. So I'm going to use the Dreamin Big stamps, and I'm going to combine these with the thin cuts. The thin cuts and stamp bundles were on special, 25% off, and they are still on special until the end of March. However, the thin cuts that I'm using here are no longer available. The stamps still are available. So I'm going to use some sorbet ink to do the bug soon. However, just looking at the page, the grey sort of made the pictures look too dark, so I played with a couple of the different greys. However, when I put the orange or the orange tone paper behind it, it seemed to make the life jackets and elements in the pictures stand out more, so that's what I'm going to go with there. Our see-through stamps are fabulous in that you can look around and sort of get a visual of where they will fit on the page or where they might look right. So I'm going to get the dragonfly off, put it onto my acrylics block, and I'm going to use the sorbet ink to stamp on one of the 6x4 cards that I've pre-cut ready for matting photographs. So getting my ink pad out and inking that up. I've turned my Versamat over to get a good inking impression. And here's the thin cut. You'll see the magnetic pad that I took that off. They're great because it holds it in place. And I'm just using a post-it note to make sure that the thin cut stays positioned around my stamped image. You can use washi tape. You can even get a hold of magnetic cutting plates that would hold the thin cut in place. But here I'm just going to put this all in, put it into my sandwich with the cutting plates, and use the post-it note to hold it in place. And as you'll see when it comes through the other side, this technique works reasonably successfully. Not terribly scientific or perfect, but you'll see that it's pressed it down. But when we pop out the shape, it's got nice rounded edges, nice and smooth, which is a lot better than fussy cutting around, and it leaves a lot nicer finish to them. The thin cuts actually have almost a rounded edge, which it just looks more finished and more professional. So putting these photos back onto the page now that I've pulled that back in front of me, and thinking about where everything needs to go. My son's just been out for a bit of a walk and he's just popped back in the door. So I'm going to get my ink dauber here and just using some of the slate grey ink, I'm going to ink around the edges. I quite like using this colour because it's not as dark as the black, but it does finish things off. I've inked around the edges of all my pieces of paper and the pocket pages as well as the photographs. It just gives them more definition and depth when you pop them back onto the page. It's sort of like a shadow effect that it creates on the photographs behind. On the page, it sort of lifts up the photograph with a shadow effect. So putting that down, trying to line up the photographs and things so that it sits in a square. So it's sort of a square within a square created using the photographs, and that's where I was careful to try and cut the photos to the same widths or the same dimensions where relevant. The top left photo is a smaller square photo, which seemed to fit quite well with the pocket page journaling down the bottom. So just using the Tombow adhesive here, which has a really good permanent stick to it. You have to be careful to place it down because it will damage things when I go to take them off at the end. So sticking down the compliments thing, so I've got the little bug that I decided to put up the top and the centre, and with my lettering I'm working from when I go to stick it down, I'm going to work from the inside to the outside of the layout. That way I'm less likely to run out of room within the page. And being aware, sort of visually looking at the stickers that I'm taking them off, how far apart are they, how close do I need to have them for it to fit nicely within that space that I've sort of left there for the title. Some people are very good at using rulers or clear plastic to line these up and then just to peel them off. I'm not very good at being a perfectionist, and it's actually okay. And so you'll notice there that I just move the D slightly and then add the A over it. So the next step will be to stick down my dragonfly. And that means trying to find or locate where I put my foam tape. Had to replace it recently because I couldn't find where the small roll that I had left had gone. So I'm just going to put a few pieces of the foam tape here onto the wings and to the body of the dragonfly, and then peel off the backing sticker so that I can stick that down with a bit of dimension on the page, so it'll be lifted up a bit higher than all the other pieces. I really like using our dimensional tape because it lifts things up, but it doesn't add weight to the page. So I'm using just a journaling tab from the compliment stickers, and on this I will just add some of the information about the date, where they were going, why they went, and who was all there. I find in journaling is important to include with the pictures because it's all part of the story, and if I didn't write the dates or the places or the people or just different things around it, then that may be lost or forgotten. And some of these adventures and some of these things that my family does need to be kept, and that's all part of why I scrapbook. There we go.